Hello again. Day 3. What we're going to cover today is we're back on the fundamental paper that started the book series off, the research, and that was the synopsis of a couple of years of work. We have 14 points which I selected, which are found in all these basic common books, bestsellers, and they, to my mind, encapsulate everything we need to study. Now, really, they're way more than you need. I started off with about 7, and as I kept studying the books, it went into about 10, but then I said the whole theory of this book, the whole theory of the idea was to create a system that could be studied over a matter of a couple of weeks, or with 15 points, you'd stretch it out over 3 to 5 day periods, half dozen, 1/6 of the other, so that people could actually improve. And it'd just be keep them on to 14 points they could go through and go through and go through. And the thing was to boil it down to the basic necessities of it. So I got 14. As I mentioned yesterday, I think I might either add 15, probably smart, or change one of these, but I think add 15 would be focus. Because what I found over and over and over, as I go through life using this stuff, Napoleon Hill had it with his burning desire, right? And all that really is, and what you really look at, there's a whole mathematical formula here. You may have heard of the 80-20 rule from Pareto. He was an Italian economist, that 20% of an organization's income comes from 80% of an organization's income comes from 20% of their customers, and it applies to all sorts of things. 80% of the problems in a workforce comes from 20% of the people. Well, that actually narrows down further. If you took 20% of that 20%, you'd wind up with a roughly close to 97%, 3%. And this is even more common in life, where you find out that out of a group of people that sign up for a course, only 3% will complete it. Now, out of those much, say this is a course in making money. I actually found this to be true, and this was told to me by a coach who worked at a scam, what he later found out to be a scam joint. But that 3% of the people who complete the course would actually make money, would actually apply what they learned. Now, and actually make their money back, which is guaranteed from the outset, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's why it's a scam. This thing was a scam. Now, out of those 3% who actually made their money back, 3% of those will actually make a outrageous success of themselves. And that fueled me for years studying this particular phenomenon. But the whole point, the real underlying bottom line to this thing is focus. Because they will take 97% of their life and realize that it's distractions. That's also known as the conventional wisdom. And it's all just distractions. Right? 3% of that stuff is going to be worthwhile. Now, if you really study that 3%, you'll find out that 3% of that will be very, 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 very useful and be pinpoint down your purpose, your bliss, right? Which that will be a recurring theme through this book, believe me. Even though it will start probably at number 1. And so you just keep focusing, you keep training, you keep studying, and you keep focusing down and pinpoint laser precision into what you want to accomplish, right? And then you'll wind up with, that's where you wind up with the success. Success is what you say it's going to be, what you define it to be, not what somebody else says. And it's not making money necessarily. Making money is just a symbol. Money is a symbol of how much value you're giving and how much you're helping people. And it only makes you more possible to help people. Study Nightingale, Strangest Secret. He covers that in great more detail. And his Leading the Field series. But, so we're going a little bit afield. That's why there's so much here, and that's why this becomes a major point, 15, focus. But let's just shortly go through through these 14 points. So I'm going to tell you I was reading this over, and I think if I was writing this paper today, I'd write it again, It initially started out with a chart with more books that I mentioned There was Letter to Garcia, which is a bestseller all by itself, Elbert Hubbard, and Way to Wealth by Benjamin Franklin, which was another huge bestseller in its time. The rest of these look to be the same thing we've covered before. But I did a chart on page 154 of the paperback, and it really does a mathematical breakdown of why I got some of these books didn't show up now, like why Letter Garcia didn't make it to the short list. It only has 1 point out of all this, and also the Way to Wealth wound up on the bottom end because if there's books that only had a couple of points or 1 point, they weren't worth studying. And so this was the whole breakdown. But that chart comes after I actually lay out all the 14 points, which I use that chart to produce. Anyway, let's go over these real quick. I don't want to keep you here forever. Reason, a reason to change something to shoot for, goal. This would also, to my mind now, would also be purpose or bliss, or would align to your major underlying activity that you want to do forever. You could talk about forever. It makes you the most happy. So it's not just a goal, but it could be a broader purpose, a river of interest, as Nightingale says. 2 is think. One has a capability of independent thought. 3 is change. A person can change his own attitudes, with her own attitudes. 4, mind. The surrounding environment is resultant from the mental environment. I can go on for hours on that point alone. 5, positive. Emphasis on positive outlook on life, eliminating critical thought and behavior. That's another key one. Actually, I could stop at this point and go, every one of these is key. That's why they're the 14 points. So let's just keep going with this thing. Eliminate critical thought and behavior. 6, achieve. One can accomplish personal control over being, doing, achieving, and acquiring. Now, some people have be, do, have, but actually have is both achieving something and acquiring things. There's 2 definitions to it. So that's why it splits that way. 7, golden rule. Underlying moral, ethical understanding, operating in a non-competitive manner. I can't wait to get to these. I'll be going to go over every single one of these. Each one of these will have a day by itself, maybe more, depending on how much content there is and how much as I discover this again as I go over. 8, vision, being able to envision personal goals and outcomes to achieve. This is different than reason, right? Slightly. And I hope to clarify that when we go over each one of them. 9, action, developing and putting plans into effect to achieve one's vision. 10, faith, an internally created energy which supports a personal belief system. Let's go over that again. Faith, an internally created energy which supports a personal belief system. That's a killer. I can't wait to get to that one, but that's at least 10 days from now. 11, affirmation, use of affirmations to strengthen faith. 12, power through prayer. Belief in a supreme being or higher power, prayer/meditation as a method of increasing one's personal effectiveness. That's a bottomless subject, huh? Just keeps going. 13, peace. Peace of mind through self-control. 14, mastermind. Surround yourself with people around you who think as you do. Composite mind will achieve the composite vision shared. Now again, if I were writing this book again, or in hindsight, I might put these in a different sequence to study which order. I'm pretty much sure I got them right, but again, we'll go over them every day, one a day at least, and we'll check this out. Okay? That's about it for today then. Thanks.